Have you ever been hit with criticism that just felt personal, like an attack? Well, in this explainer, we're going to unpack how a simple change in the way you listen can transform those really tense moments into incredible opportunities for growth and, believe it or not, connection.
So, let's kick things off with a question. Think about this. The very same words, the same piece of feedback, can absolutely crush one person, but it can light a fire under another. How is that possible? What's the secret ingredient here that completely changes the result?
Well, it turns out the answer isn't about the words themselves or the tone or even who's saying them. It's all internal. The real power is in the mental framework you decide to use in that exact moment. It all comes down to how you listen.
Okay, let's break this down. It really boils down to two completely different mindsets. On one side, you've got the fixed mindset listener. For them, any criticism is a threat, and their shields go up immediately. But on the other side, you have the growth mindset listener, who hears the exact same words and thinks, interesting, this is data I can use.
So let's really dig into this first superpower, listening with a growth mindset. This is all about training yourself to hear the valuable signal that's so often buried in all the noise of a tough conversation.
So what does that actually look like? It's a core belief. It's the idea that every single conversation, no matter how heated it gets, has some piece of valuable data inside it that can help you improve. You know, the second you start looking at feedback as a tool instead of a judgment, the entire game changes.
And to make this really practical, there's a great metaphor we can use, the idea of mining for gold. It's a way to train your brain to look right past the messy, emotional surface of a conversation and start digging for something valuable hidden underneath.
So how do you actually do it? It's a three-step process. First, you have to identify the trash. You know, the harsh tone, the angry delivery, all that stuff. Next, you got to put on your mental gloves. That just means consciously managing your own emotional reaction, your own defensiveness. And only then can you do the real work. Find the gold, that little nugget of truth buried under all the emotion.
And this, right here, this is where the real transformation happens. It's that conversation you have inside your own head. A fixed mindset is all about being right, about winning the argument. But a growth mindset, it has a totally different goal, to find the best possible solution no matter who it comes from. That internal shift is the engine that makes this whole thing work.
And if you need just one tool to help you make that shift, here it is. 3 simple words. The moment you feel that defensive wall starting to go up, instead of firing back, just get curious. Say, tell me more. It instantly switches you from defense mode to data gathering mode. It's pretty much the ultimate growth mindset hack.
But you know, just gathering data is only half the equation. To truly turn a difficult conversation around, you need a second skill, listening with empathy. This is where we go beyond just understanding the facts and start building a real human connection. I love this analogy because it perfectly captures the difference. Sympathy is standing at a safe distance, looking down into the hole and saying, wow, that looks rough. But empathy? Empathy is choosing to climb down into that hole with them, not to fix it, but just to sit there and say, I'm here with you. It's a massive shift. Now, empathy isn't just one simple thing. It's more like a journey through 3 different layers. It all starts with cognitive empathy. That's just understanding their point of view. From there, it can go deeper into emotional empathy, where you actually start to get a sense of what they're feeling. And then finally, it can lead to empathic concern, that genuine desire to help. The best listeners know how to move between all 3. But here's a critical point. Empathy is not the same as agreement. You're validating their emotions, not their facts. You can absolutely say, I can see why you're so frustrated, without saying, you know what, you're right. That little distinction is the key that unlocks so many productive conversations.
Okay, so we've talked a lot of theory. Now let's see how these 2 skills, growth mindset and empathy, actually work together when the pressure is on. Let's walk through a quick case study we'll call the meeting room storm.
So meet the players. We've got Minh. He's the new super data-focused marketing director. And we have Tuan, the star creative director who is completely burned out. And the situation? A massive new product launch has just failed, and the tension in the room is, well, you can cut it with a knife.
All of a sudden, Tuan just loses it. He points a finger right at Minh in front of the whole team and says this, "You are the worst micromanager I've ever met." The entire room just goes silent. This
is a defining moment. So, what's the first human instinct here? For almost all of us, it's to defend ourselves, right? To fight back, protect our reputation, prove him wrong. And you can bet Min's brain is screaming at him to do exactly that.
But Min makes a different choice. Instead of defending, he decides to decode. He consciously pushes past that primal instinct and activates his advanced listening skills. And this is what he says. Now notice, he doesn't argue about the micromanager comment at all. He goes straight for the emotion behind the words. This is pure empathy in action. He validates Tuan's anger, his exhaustion. He shows him that he sees the person, not just the attack. And that one sentence changes the entire energy of the room.
This story really leads us to a powerful way to think about this. In the middle of a storm of criticism, your growth mindset is the anchor. It holds you steady so your ego doesn't get swept away. And then, empathy acts like a lighthouse, guiding the other person to a safe harbor where you can have a real conversation.
So, we've seen how powerful these two skills are when Min and Tuan were in that meeting room. Now let's take all of that and distill it down into a simple, practical toolkit you can use in your very next tough conversation.
So to sum it all up, here are the key takeaways. A growth mindset is really for you. It's about digging for that data to make yourself better. Empathy is for them. It's about validating their feelings to make the relationship stronger. And the real mastery? That comes when you can do both of those things at the very same time.
Okay, so here's your challenge. The next time you find yourself in a difficult conversation and you feel that defensiveness kicking in, don't just react. Instead, I want you to consciously shift your listening into GEAR. It's a simple 4-step guide. G is for growth. Go in with the goal to learn, not to win. E is for empathy. Get curious about what they might be feeling or even fearing. A is for ask. Use those magic words, tell me more, instead of defending. And finally, R is for reflect. Show them you're listening by reflecting their feelings back to them. When you shift into this gear, you stop just hearing words. You start building bridges. You start turning conflict into connection.